I recently made a video discussing the episode of Star Wars Visions titled The Ninth Jedi. In that video, I made the case for why I believe that episode specifically should become its own series. To sum up my argument, that episode pulled me back into the galaxy far, far away that I fell in love with as a kid. Today, I'd like to talk about another episode of Visions, the fourth episode, because while The Ninth Jedi felt like Star Wars, The Village Bride felt like something more. People often say that film and animation are art forms, and quite frankly, I can't think of a better word to describe The Village Bride than art. So how about we go on a little journey together and unravel what exactly about this episode makes it so special. Spoilers from here on out, by the way. The episode begins peacefully as the camera pans down towards a planet. There's no fighting, no ominous music, no Imperial fleet, nothing. And then, as so many Star Wars stories often begin, a ship flies into frame. A man on world notices, but almost immediately returns to his work. It is clear from the start that he is a researcher, and given his knowledge of the world, and more importantly its people, one can assume he's an anthropologist of sorts. And much like the people who made this episode, he has uncovered something important and wishes to show others. The ship lands, and the pilot, a Jedi Padawan named F, walks through some nearby brush to greet the man. She is new to this world, much like us, but holds the belief that there's something here worth seeing. At the same time, however, she hides herself from the world. And she's not wrong to do so either. I mean, she's a survivor of the dreaded Order 66. All that would take is one show of her power, even one suspicion that she has them, and just like that, her life would be over. So she's always cautious in her travels, she always wears a cloak, and she always covers her face. Her mask, a homage to the Mempo once worn by the samurai, not only points out the similarities between her order and theirs, but also showcases her changed worldview following the fall of the Jedi. Jedi aren't meant to be warriors like the samurai. They aren't meant to strike fear into the hearts of their enemies. They're peacekeepers. The Jedi forgot this, and they fell as a result. Just like the Jedi who fell before her, we see F has forgotten her purpose, but not, oddly enough, her stature. Despite working hard to keep her identity a secret, F has continued to wear her Padawan braid, a symbol of her inexperience. So from this very first scene, we can gather that F wishes to remain hidden, not because she fears death, but because she feels herself incapable of doing anything significant. So all she considers herself capable of doing is visiting her old friend Valko and seeing whatever it is he wishes to show her. And just as Valko mentions the thing he wants her to see, the subject of observation arrives. An engaged couple making the long trek up the mountain. The groom, Asu, has a chair strapped to his back. His bride, Haru, is seated in the chair. Not because she can't walk, but rather because it's tradition for brides not to dirty their feet on the way to their destination. As Asu tells his wife-to-be, they're headed to a sacred place, likely to finalize their matrimony. Truly, this is a strange wedding practice, one that piques F's curiosity just as it does ours. For over a minute, the significance of this tradition is made clear. As Haru and Asu make the difficult climb up the mountain, nothing else occurs. There's no dialogue, no action, not even suspense. All that is shown this entire time is Asu's climb as an absolutely beautiful score swells and quickly becomes the focal point of the scene. Despite the tinge of sadness seen in Haru's eyes, this remains a momentous occasion. Clearly, whatever we are witnessing is something special, and when the lovers arrive at their destination, we finally see what warranted such reverence. A Jedi temple. To the young couple, though, the true significance of this place remains unknown. For them, there is no Jedi order, no ancient knowledge to be found within this place. In fact, they do not even know this is a temple. To them, it is simply a part of their world, a part of nature, a source of magina, just as they are. As is their people's custom, the two reach out and touch the pillar, chanting,
Magina, may you rise!
Summoning the Magina, the Force, from within, uncovering a power not even the Jedi knew was possible. A blue hue consumes the area, and the two are granted a vision of better days. They bear witness to a memory of their childhood when they, along with Haru's sister, tried to redirect the flow of a river with stones. And as their memory comes to an end, an earthquake engulfs the blue hue and everything returns to how it was when they arrived. This earthquake, this violent disruption, symbolizes the loss of those simpler days, of the peace and harmony they once experienced here. And now that their time at the pillar comes to an end, all that remains is the tinge of sadness we saw earlier in Haru, which grows as they return home. Clearly something more is going on here, but we'll get to that later. For now, let's return to F. Upon seeing the blue aura expand from the temple, she immediately recognized it as the Force, and it can be reasonably inferred that given the strength of the light side found here, as well as her master's ties to the planet, she knows this is a Jedi temple. As seen in Star Wars Rebels, it takes 2 Jedi to open such a temple, but 2 from this world can apparently unlock something entirely different. This is the essence of what's known as cultural relativism, a term meaning that a thing from one culture can represent something entirely different to another. People like Valco may argue that through the study of other cultures, one can better understand one's own. So the question is, what will F learn about herself by the end of her time here? Night falls as the newlyweds return home, and they are welcomed back with a wedding feast. F and Valco also partake in the banquet, though the festivities are noticeably devoid of the sense of joy weddings are generally known to have. In Haru's eyes can be seen a sense of acceptance concerning whatever fate will soon befall her, though the same cannot be said for the villagers. Some look on, saddened by the harsh reality they face, while others sit bitterly, refusing to accept the futility of resisting it. The planet no longer feels peaceful and sacred. No longer are we, the viewer, excited to witness the incredible sights awaiting us. Rather, we are made uneasy as the tension of the episode slowly continues to build, as we sit in our chairs dying to discover what has thrown this world out of balance. F, feeling the same way, finally asks Valco what is going on. It is revealed that Haru will be surrendering herself to raiders the following morning in order to spare the village from their wrath. Haru embodies what it means to be a Jedi, what it means to be a keeper of the peace. Much like the vision she experienced at the pillar, her life is about to be uprooted by pain and suffering. And despite knowing this, she's still willing to sacrifice everything in the hopes of protecting others. She's seen the effects the Clone Wars had on her world and knows that violence, in Valco's words, is
nothing but loss.
These raiders, which we can assume have been pestering villages like this one for some time, have come into possession of battle droids which they have reprogrammed to do their bidding. As such, the enemy of the village is quite similar to the enemies F once faced on the battlefield. The Clone Wars, its end specifically, haunts F. The death of her master is a driving factor behind her unwillingness to fight back. She's hesitant regarding her abilities, her training, and her purpose. Earlier, while exploring the planet, despite being in no danger herself, all F could focus on was the destruction caused by the war, a war that was ultimately for nothing. Haru, meanwhile, despite approaching the hour of her sacrifice, looked out on the horizon and saw the good in it, the simplicity and repetition of nature.
The sun's rising. It has been since a long time before we were born. And it will keep on setting too, I suppose, long after we're gone.
So the episode has been focusing on these 2 women, one of whom has the power to create positive change yet doesn't, and the other who wishes to prevent negative change but lacks the power needed to do so. One has agency and lacks will, and the other has will and lacks agency. There are some in the village, however, who believe they have both.
This isn't right! You shouldn't have to carry this burden alone. It's wrong. Some of us are ready to fight!
Fighting is useless.
The land is on our side! What kind of wedding is full of mourning?
Upon seeing this village's plight and witnessing firsthand Haru's selfless will, F becomes conflicted and is moved to do something she hasn't done in a long time. Use the Force. Nature, much like the water of the river, is always flowing. Some, like Haru, allow the current to take them wherever they are meant to be, while others, for better or worse, resist the flow, resist the natural order of things. As seen by the vision at the pillar, this is done by the casting of stones, the blocking or redirection of the current. So naturally, when F, conflicted on how to proceed, uses the Force, she lifts a rock. But Haru arrives and asks her to allow nature to take its course. Then when Asu, planning to resist, sharpens his blade and packs his grenade, his stone to throw, Haru asks him to do the same. After seeing this community try to live in harmony with nature, F spends the night pondering how best to do the same. And through her contemplation, she comes to an important conclusion. She has to embrace her own nature before she can help others. For too long, she has allowed stones to obstruct the flow of who she is, and she decides to finally do something about it. So the sun rises, and as Haru's words foreshadowed, with it comes rebirth. F cuts off her Padawan braid, tosses aside her mask, and embraces her true nature. She embraces who she really is.
I am a Jedi.
And her timing couldn't have been better, because while she was embracing the natural order, Asu cast his stone into the river. Yes, it was Haru's sister who was caught with the grenade, but one can reasonably infer that Asu asked her to use it, given he had it shortly before. Finally balanced, F arrives and faces off against the Raiders, and her stand against them is truly epic. A few Raiders and some droids are certainly no match for a Jedi, but this scene represents so much more than that. It is F's triumphant return to her nature. It is the flow of the river overcoming the stone cast into it. And she explains that, not just to Haru and Asu, but to the Raiders as well, calling upon what the village taught her to make her point.
You can't change the river's flow by casting a stone. But live in harmony with nature and you'll change together. The people of this world know that well. You know that the breath of life becomes wind and will always respond. Majna, may you rise.
And to rebalance this world, F needs a faster, more powerful current than anything the Raiders have ever seen. And she delivers just that. There will always be people who disrupt the natural order of things, but there will always be people who rise to the occasion and meet evil head on. Because the flow of nature can never be truly stopped. The sun will always set, but it will never stop rising.
You can't stop my shine. I'm loving Cloud City.